Howdy doody, what's up? For this video, we are going to explore the world of needlepoint. I have never done needlepoint before. I saw this like cursed dog pillow. I'm gonna put it right here. That I was like, oh my gosh, I want to make something like that. I've seen like some needlepoint stuff in the past and it's always very like elegant and nice, and I was like, well, can I make it like kind of kitschy and weird? So I figured I would try my hand this week at needlepoint, but I think it's cute, and I was like, well, if I make like a little pillow, I can make like a little dog pillow, you know? And of course I'm gonna make a little Pomeranian pillow because duh, like we all know at this point I love dogs and I love Pomeranians, and I think I'll always have a Pomeranian, so of course I have to be a pom mom, do like a little Pomeranian pillow. Duh, like obviously. That's what we're gonna be doing today. I'm not a big researcher with crafts. I kind of like to maybe watch like one video, maybe 1.5, and then go, good enough, I'll just jump right in. I'm a big researcher when it comes to a lot of things, especially with like pets, animals, fashion, like all that stuff. Art, completely different. Art, I'm like, I want to see one video on it and then just be like, give me the supplies, let me try. Like, I want to figure it out myself. The like act of figuring out the technique is satisfying to me. Kind of like starting to really get it down and being like, oh, this is how it's done. That's satisfying to me. It's almost like a spoiler in a way if I'm like learning everything there is to know about a craft before I even do it. I kind of want to like get my hands dirty and like figure it out while I go. Does that make sense? Other things like pet care, fashion, hair stuff, whatever it is, I'm like, let me like look up and get all of this information on it first. I like to have like so much information on it, especially like, for example, dogs. Obsessed with dogs. I can't remember shit, but I can remember hundreds of dog breeds and point them out while I'm out and recognize dog breeds randomly. My priorities are all sorts of whack. All that to say is I saw like one video on it, looked up like one video on TikTok on how to do like a needle point stitch, and then went, great, let's go get some supplies. Let's just go into top-down mode and jump right in. We're gonna look at this craft and we're gonna just explore it together. This isn't really like a tutorial. It's more just like I tried it. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying it and I'm like seeing how I feel. Anyway, let's go into top-down mode. Whoa.
So the first thing I actually did was pulled out my iPad and sketched out what I wanted to do. I was thinking of just doing like a cute little sitting Pomeranian because a lot of those little dog cushions usually are just like sitting. So I just kind of refined my sketch with like simple shapes because I knew if I was going to turn it into a pillow, which I ended up not being able to do, I would need like soft round shapes. And then I found this website called Stitch Fiddle, and you could import your illustration in there and it would turn it into kind of like a pattern, kind of more like a pixel drawing, but you could refine how many stitches you wanted and what colors and everything. So I just went in and manually started drawing in there. I used my sketch as like a base and then just refined it with the tools that they had on the website. Initially, I was gonna do teal, but then when I looked at all of the threads that I got, I didn't get enough colors for the teal, so I decided to opt for pink. But this was essentially my finished design, but just replaced teal with pink. Then the next thing I did was I got this cross-stitch needlework canvas, I guess, and it's like grit. It's kind of like a grid. It has like specific holes in it and everything. You can get it at like any craft store. And I sketched my design because I tend to work fast and loose. I decided I was just going to sketch my design, and then any patterns that I saw online, I noticed that a lot of the times if they were colored, they were like color blocked, I guess. So if a part was blue, it would be colored in blue on the pattern itself. If a part was pink, it would be colored in pink on the pattern itself. So I thought that was a good idea, so I just got out like my Posca paint markers and color coded all of the areas. I added some simple shading in there, just a little bit for dimension. And then once I was happy with what I had created, I pulled out my thread and looked up a tutorial on TikTok on how to do the continental stitch, which is essentially like the first stitch you learn for needlepoint. This stitch is definitely a little like weird when you're first learning it, but then like as you work through it, you start to really pick it up and it's like becomes like muscle memory. But I definitely had to watch a few videos multiple times to figure out exactly how I was supposed to do it all. Other people can explain this better than me, but essentially if you're going left, you go down to up diagonally, and then if you're going right, you go up to down diagonally. Now what I didn't know until I literally was editing this video and trying to find a reference picture for continental stitch is that they have a left-handed version, which is essentially the reverse. And I'm kind of kicking myself because I feel like that would have been helpful for me because I am a lefty. All of the videos I saw on TikTok were, I guess, for right-handed people, but apparently they have a whole different type of way of doing it for lefties, and so I'm going to share both of those for you. But I guess that kind of makes sense because I kept unintentionally reversing these stitches when I was doing it, so yeah. It's okay, I've trained my left hand to do right hand things many a time, and vice versa. Fun fact, I use my mouse on my computer with my right hand because that's just how I was taught, and I just assumed that that's what you were supposed to do until I met other people who were like, oh, if you're a lefty, you can put it on the left side, and I was like, what? Anyway, the rest of this footage is just me stitching everything and slowly putting in all of the colors and just doing kind of the same stitches over and over again. So enjoy this relaxing content with some nice music. This is definitely the type of craft that you do when you're doing something else, like something that you want to do to keep your hands busy. So, like if you're talking to somebody and you're having like a long conversation, or you're watching a show, or you're listening to an audiobook or something like that, it's definitely something that becomes like a repetitive task. So you're kind of just like, just doing the same thing over and over again, keeping your hands busy and like using your brain for something else, if that makes sense. I think a lot of people find this meditative, and I could see how people think this is meditative. I think I am too ADHD for this to be any sort of meditative for me. Also, I don't know if I was doing this wrong, but I also kept alternating my hands depending on like where I was putting the stitch. And then I don't think that this is good form, but I definitely was using my mouth to pull out the needle a few times because my hands were doing other things. And I just needed to grab it to pull it through. So just use my mouth. I don't know. Don't do that. I think you shouldn't do that, but I did it. But just don't do that. Do what I say, not as I do. Now, I know I said that I wanted to make this into a pillow. Unfortunately, I greatly underestimated how long this actually would take me. Needlepoint takes a long time, especially with the size that I did. So I actually ran out of time, at least for this video, to make the pillow portion. I also have to figure out exactly how to like cut this out and sew it onto a pillow so that it doesn't fray, I guess. So there's a little bit of like logistical stuff that I have to figure out on my end. So I will turn it into a pillow. I'll probably make it a short instead of like a full video, just because all I really have to do is like slap it on some fabric and then stuff it. But this is like the big part of it anyway, was to like get the needlepoint part down. But yeah, this just took so much longer than I thought it would. But basically with this last stitch, we can jump into seeing the final piece. So let's go take a look.
I'm back. Okay, we finished it. It's done. Needlepoint? Not for me. Not a craft for me. It's too, like, busy work, kind of. Like, I think this is a great craft for somebody who likes... He's gonna try to steal Diglett's treat.
Oh, you can't go in. You can't go.
Gengar tries to steal Diglett's treats. They'll get the same treat, but Gengar will eat his like 10 times faster than Diglett, and then will come in and be like, I'm gonna take yours too. And then Diglett will like look, because Diglett's like kind of food motivated, but not like insanely food motivated. So he'll like chew it for a little bit and then be like, that was nice. And then like lie down or go to sleep or something. And then Gengar's like, now's my chance. And he'll steal it. Or like if Diglett looks away for a little bit or like goes up to get water, Gengar's like, so he's locked out of the office right now while Diglett finishes his treat. Anyway, all that to say, needlepoint. I think this is a great craft for people who like to do, how do I say this without sounding judgmental? Repetitive tasks, like repetitive, like, because you know what, there's some people out there who like doing things like that. Like they like organizing or like completing something. Like there's a lot of, like there's steps and then you complete it. Does that make sense? And that's not me. I'm not, this is too structured for me. Like it's very rigid in the sense of like you're working on a grid. I feel like it's a similar vibe to like diamond painting or like paint by numbers or something along those lines, except you're doing it with thread. I, like I said earlier, like to get my hands dirty and just like jump in and like explore, and I like an unstructured art hobby activity. This is a little too rigid, if that makes sense. Like we have to follow it in this kind of order, and I don't like that. And it's also very like, you know, like piece, like bit by bit by bit by bit by bit. And I felt like there were multiple times where I was like, can I just like paint bucket this? Like it's all the same. Let me just paint bucket this and move on to the next step. But I can't paint bucket it or like swath in a full color with like a big brush because it's like little tiny grids, you know? So fun exploration, cool thing to like kind of have under my belt, I guess, but like not for me. I do think that this is a good craft. Like if you're not good at drawing, but you want to make things like this is a good craft for that, because you don't have to be good at drawing to do this. But there's like tons of patterns that you can follow online, so you don't have to worry about like actually patterning it out and drawing it. You can just find a pattern online and follow it, and then you can make a piece like this. So I think this is a really good craft for people who don't know how to draw, can't draw, don't want to draw, but they want to like do something creative. I'm a little too like chaotic, nightmare, messy tornado, and this is like sit down, meditative, turn on like an audio book and like sit in a cozy couch, spend your time on this type of thing. And I like to be like a nasty little gremlin, you know? This isn't nasty enough for me, if that makes sense. Like this isn't nasty enough. I was gonna turn this into a pillow. I ran out of time because it took so long to do. I am happy. I think it turned out cute. Like I do think it turned out cute once you get into the rhythm of like figuring out how the stitches go. You're like, it kind of starts coming naturally. You start kind of figuring it out and being like, oh, okay. It's like, I get it. It is a little, there's like a tiny bit of a learning curve of figuring out how like the continental stitch works. But once you figure it out, yeah, you really start to get it down. So I'm glad I tried this. It was like a fun little experiment. I'm excited to turn it into like a little pillow, I think, but I don't think I will do needlework again. So I'll probably have to just go back and return all of these little things because I didn't know how much I was supposed to buy because I bought too little the first time and then I had to run out and get more. So now I have a lot of these and so I have to go return them. Yep, okay, that's about it for this video. Goodbye!